All right. Hey, everybody. It is August 13th, 2020, for time for our weekly Ask Me Anything, which takes place in the Linchpin Athletics closed Facebook group. And a lot of good interaction happened. We've got 87 comments that I went through this morning and figured out which ones got upvoted the most, and we'll just start attacking them. Oh, Cameron, one more thing. Let's see. If you don't use sugar or cream in your coffee, you can tell a big difference between the good stuff and the bad stuff. Oh, interesting. All right, yeah, I can see that. I can see that if you sweeten your coffee, you could disguise it. I will also say that I'm in no way, shape, or form sophisticated with my coffee palate. I'm sure I'm an absolute barbarian. I don't know what's good or bad. I just know what I like. I like dark roasts, which I've had some people who are maybe a bit more snooty or sophisticated with their coffee tell me that dark roast is just burnt and that a light or a medium roast is where the true enthusiasts live, but I don't know what to tell you. I like the dark roast coffee. It's all good. All right, let's dive right into it. Here we go. The very first question is from Eric. He got 43 upvotes, and it was related to some games, athletes, and linchpin programming. Where was it? Scrolling, like I said, there was a ton of. Okay, now it's been upvoted 46 times. Here we go. To your knowledge, which games CrossFitters have been linchpin, followers? I heard Chandler Smith was here. Okay, simple answer. Beats me. I've got no idea. I've got absolutely no idea. Since we post the workouts for free every day on the web, people are free to follow them if they so desire. And I know that, some games athletes, understandably so, are very, loyal and dedicated to their competitors' training, and they want to represent that flag, which is fantastic. And Linchpin has been very vocal that we're not competitors training, right? We don't do the volume and all the extra stuff that you would need to stand on the podium because it's wildly inappropriate and unnecessary for the overwhelming majority of the human race. And that's our audience, the majority of the human race. And if somebody was very serious about competing in CrossFit, they would need more volume, more everything, because the endeavor that they are looking to take place in is incredibly different than what we're training for regular life. And I even lump into regular life first responder, police, fire, military, Navy SEALs, Delta Force, and I'm speaking from experience with those communities as well. You can do everything you need with one workout a day for all of that stuff that I just mentioned. But if you want to go to a sanctioned event and do well, if your goal or desire is to actually go to the CrossFit Games and hear Sean Woodland's booming voice call your name out, you're going to need to take a different path. And that's okay. That's just, it is what it is. So I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. I know that I think some of them do like to play with the Monday Monster Mash. They'll throw it down, and I know that Sam Briggs is not afraid to throw down the Monday Monster Mash now and then, and she's very cool and always gives a shout out or whatnot. So, not sure quite frankly, but I'm sure some of them are playing with it. Okay, so that was Eric's question. And now the next one, when I looked at this about an hour ago, that got upvoted the most was from Colin. He got 35, and it was about reviewing data. I think it was down near the bottom. Let me take a peek. Okay, it's been upvoted again to 36. I just lost it. Here it is, okay. Do you go and review result data for our workouts to see and gauge performance of members? If so, does that influence the programming? Short answer is yes. It's an easy answer. I absolutely, everything that all of you post on Instagram, here on the Facebook page, and the Beyond the Whiteboard leaderboards, that's all, I immerse myself in that. It's probably the simplest way to say it. And what I'm most interested in is if most people's times or loadings or etc. are falling in the range that I generally predicted that they would fall in, then that doesn't get a tremendous amount of attention from me because it seems like it went just how I thought that it would go. And I, am lucky enough that the overwhelming majority of the time, that's how it goes. But if every now and then, I know I have in my head and what I crunched out that I think a workout would go like, and it doesn't go that way, that's a very rare occasion, but it does happen every now and then. And usually, what's cool about that is usually all of you will impress me by, I don't know, being fitter or more capable than I originally thought. So there might be some workout that I'm going over what it's going to be, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be particularly challenging here, and this is going to eat up some time here, and this is what a good time will be, and then everybody will come in, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes quicker than I thought they would, and I'm like, wow, it's actually really cool that everybody did so much better on that workout than I potentially thought that they would be. That does, again, I'm usually pretty good about where I think things are going to shake out, but every now and then I'm pleasantly surprised, and it's usually a positive. It's very, very, 3 more veries, rare that the opposite happens, that I'm like, oh, this is going to take, I think, about 11 minutes, and people roll in at 18 minutes. That's usually not the case at all. And the only time that something like that could happen would be on something where the individual made a choice to grind it out. So, for example, what's today? Thursday. So I think Tuesday's workout was a very technically challenging workout. I believe it was, if my memory serves, 75 double unders, a 50-meter handstand walk, 75 double unders, 50 strict ring dips, and then 1 more set of 75 double unders. So everything about that workout's hard. 3 sets of 75 double unders, that in and of itself, the range, if people are choosing to do double unders and not scale it or do single unders or set a clock and just practice them for 1 minute, but they're like, no, today's the day, I'm going to stick this out and do the darn double unders no matter how long it takes, well, just simply making that choice based upon that athlete's ability with that movement, a set of 75 double unders is going to take somebody sub 1 minute unbroken, or somebody might be there for 5 to 7 minutes just slashing themselves with that rope trying to accomplish the 75 double unders until they finally move on. So a workout like that can have a wide range of time depending upon what choice the athlete makes. And then you have a 50-meter handstand walk in there, which is another one where people may have the ability to handstand walk, but there's a universe of difference in there. Are you a former D1 gymnast that you're going to kick up and you're like, oh, 50 meters, that's actually what my wife said, she's like, 50 meters? Geez, that's a pretty long handstand walk. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then she, walked 25 meters unbroken, shook it out for a bit, walked the 25 meters back with, I think, 1 or 2 stops, and that was it. And then shook in, went in, did the 75 double unders. So that didn't take that long. But then you may have people who are like, yes, I can handstand walk, and what that means is I kick up, I can walk 1, 2 meters, maybe 3, then I lose my balance, I kick down, I shake out for 10 seconds, I kick up, I get another 2 meters, I come back down. Well, yes, that person can handstand walk, but the time it's going to take for them to do 50 meters is quite different. So on some workouts like that, I expect a wider range than normal of times submitted, depending upon the skill level of the movements involved and then what decisions the individual athletes make. So in general, things go well. But yeah, absolutely look at that data. No 2 ways about it. Okay, that was Colin's question. Then we had 27 upvotes from Derek's question. Derek, where are you? Let's see. Oh, this was a question to my younger self, I believe. If I could meet my younger self, I would just probably strangle him. Okay, here we go. 28 upvotes. You're allowed to go back and give the younger version of yourself advice 2 to 3 months into CrossFit. What would you say? Holy cow. How much time do we have? So when I first started CrossFit, I was fresh out of the military. I mean, fresh out. And I do not want to say that my experiences or how I carried myself is indicative of every veteran, every person, etc., etc. I can only speak for me. But I'm here to tell you, coming out of, the time that I did in the SEALs and still being in my late 20s at that point in time, I had an ego. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was probably very brash, very full of myself, and not proud of that. Now looking back on it, much later in life, I just shake my head about how I could have used a lot more humility, if you will, a lot more removing of ego. So, that younger, brash, more arrogant, I can take on the world after coming out of the team's individual approached CrossFit, and shocking, right? I did not want to do a crawl, walk, run approach. I wanted to do all the cool stuff with the weights right away. I don't want to hear about how long it takes other people. I'm doing this. And that's what I did for a while. And it was not a good call. It was not the way to do it. And behavior such as that most likely will result in one of two things. If you're lucky, you won't get injured because you're doing stuff you're not good at, and you're doing it with relatively poor mechanics, and you're doing it with loading that you shouldn't be doing it with. So your chance of putting yourself in some sort of compromised position and tweaking yourself are high. Luckily, that did not happen to me. And the other thing, the other path, which is the one that happened to me, is, I did get quite fit, as a matter of fact, because I went from a world of low intensity and isolation movements to compound movements, functional movements, with variance, with intensity. So of course I got fitter, even not moving well and even doing more than I should sooner than I should. But what happens is eventually those results are going to get blunted, or you're going to hit a plateau, or you're going to become stagnant in one way, shape, or form because you didn't spend time, and I didn't spend my time, we're talking about me when I was first getting into CrossFit, in what is the proper road, which was said before, which is mechanics, consistency, and then intensity. I just jumped into the deep end of the pool, jumped into intensity. Stupid. Should never have done that, which is why I'm so vocal about telling others about the stupid things that I've done. So I jumped into intensity right away. I was lucky enough not to tweak myself. I did get quite fit for a period of time, and then it stopped because for me to get better and to advance, my technique, my mechanics, my form was the limiting factor, and I'd never spent any time actually laying that groundwork, that foundation. And so I was too concerned about building the 10th floor of the building when I'd never actually built the foundation, then floor 1, then floor 2. And so the building starts to sway eventually, and it will eventually come down. And then you'll have to waste time, because you should have done this initially, rebuilding the foundation, removing your ego, embracing scaling, and then going through the actual proper protocol of mechanics, consistency, and intensity. So that's absolutely the advice that I would have given myself. At some point in time, you realize you do not have to yank on the bar any harder to improve your squat clean, your full clean. You actually need to move your body in the proper sequence of events from core to extremity to increase your squat clean. And you can increase your squat clean without increasing your muscle fiber or tissue by just moving better. And I wish I had known that from the get-go, but I was a young, arrogant punk, and so that did not occur. And then, I would love to go back to my younger self and revolved or intertwined in all that, since ego and lack of humility, and I think that I know everything, blah, 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 was such a problem. I would have loved to have started a path of personal development a whole lot sooner in my life. It's a big part of what I do now, but I wish I was doing it 15 or 20 years ago. I'd be even further ahead than I am right now. So yes, I would love to have a conversation with my younger self. I would have a lot to tell them. And this is all the stuff that I'm right now conveying to my boys who are 8 and 10 and trying to set them on a better and more efficient path than the one that I was on. And I'm sure it will be an uphill battle with them at some point in time, right? Because when you're young, everybody thinks that they know everything. And so round and round we go. Okay. Okay, then we had a question. 25 upvotes. Let's see. Okay. Okongahale. I hope I'm saying your last name right. Okongahale. I'm probably not. I apologize. 25 upvotes. Here we go. What ideas / thoughts or lessons did you learn in the SEAL teams in terms of breathing? Was the focus on nasal breathing, etc.? Also, any tips on breathing for ice baths or cold water? I hope everybody gets a kick out of this. This is the God's honest truth for this question. What lessons, thoughts, or ideas did you learn in the SEAL teams in regards to breathing? Answer: none. Was the focus on nasal breathing? Absolutely not. Any tips on breathing for ice baths or cold water? No, not a single one. So, that's the truth. The absolute truth, based upon that time of my life and that experience. There was never any discussion on breathing, never any discussion on super secret tips or how to prepare yourself. The instructors, and even my time after buds in the teams, I don't want to sound harsh or cold or callous, but I'm just going to be just dead set, honest and blunt. Nobody cared. Nobody cared at all. Nobody cared what you had for a little meditation or a little breathing ritual or whatever. They would just said, get your butt in the water now. Just do it. Nobody cares how you do it, just do it. And stay in it for as long as we need to stay in it to do whatever it is that we have to accomplish, and then you can get out. I don't care if you breathe out of your nose, your mouth, you find some way to do it out of your ears, nobody cares. Just accomplish the task. So, again, not trying to be, harsh or funny or whatnot, but that really was the deal. There was none of that going on. And I know that right now it seems to be very in vogue, the whole nasal breathing, whatever you want to call it, protocol, if you will. And I will admit that I do not have a lot of personal hands-on experience with doing it. I have read a fair amount about it, and I only put so much stock into what I've read, because I've read so many studies over the years from so many prestigious laboratories, scientists, universities, and plenty of them were absolutely dead wrong. Prestigious university, wonderful footnotes, big government grant, peer-reviewed journal, absolutely does not mean that it's correct, does not mean that the data that they are saying to back up their claim is being told in the most transparent and fair manner, and it wasn't sifted and picked and chosen in a way to support their data or claim or theory or whatever it happens to be. And so, yeah, there's stuff written about nasal breathing that it's tremendous and wonderful, and I'm just saying I don't know where I fall on it quite yet. That's my honest opinion. I don't know where I fall on it. I've read this stuff, and just because I've read this stuff and it sounds good, not to be cynical, but that doesn't go very far with me, because I've read stuff in the past that sounded great and it didn't pan out to be correct. It was just a wonderfully written article that wasn't true. I'm not saying that's the case. All this stuff might be great. It might be the absolute way to do it. The jury's still out for me on that, and I'm open to the idea that it could be amazing. I'm also open to the idea that it's a bunch of malarkey. I'm not quite sure yet. My gut says if somebody is really into it or concerned about it, that's great. Play with it, experiment with it. I mean, the greatest evidence and data that you can have is, especially if you know yourself very well as an athlete, and you start to implement whatever it happens to be. You change your routine in a certain way and you know where it was before. So then when you add this one new variable, you can identify, did things get better, stay the same, or get worse? And that's some of the most powerful data that you can have there, period. So I would pay a lot of attention to that. But I would also say if one of your, quote unquote, big concerns is nasal breathing, great. If we were going down a laundry list of things that I would want to have in order before I thought of that one, there would probably be things that I would put higher on the list of priorities. And this may be an over-exaggeration, okay? So I'm not saying this applies to the individual who asked the question, but, if somebody's telling me that they're very concerned with nasal breathing, and then I see them during lunch having some Ruffles potato chips with whatever they had for lunch, we've got bigger fish to fry than the nasal breathing. So I would just make sure, in the grand scheme of life, in the grand scheme of, your pyramid of priorities of what's really going to have a significant impact, I would just make sure that that gets not more or less credit than it deserves. But you may want to play with it, and I may play with it as well, because, just like I said, that's the best way to actually see, is there something here worth exploring more? I have poked around and talked to some other well-known, capable athletes that I know and trust, and I can't find any kind of consensus right now from individuals that have my respect and trust. But if that changes, I'll certainly let you know. But truth is, they didn't give us any tips in SEAL training. They didn't do anything. They just, even before we did to do a 50-meter underwater swim with a couple somersaults and revolutions under there. It's a very bad experience, that particular evolution. They didn't give us any breathing techniques. They just said, get in the water. Today's a 50-meter underwater swim. You got to jump in, feet first. Don't touch the wall. While you're underwater, do a somersault underwater, just so you disorient yourself a little bit, maybe get some water up your nose, burn some oxygen. You still haven't even started your forward progress yet. And then without kicking off the wall, swim 25 meters down underwater to the other end of the pool. Once you hit that wall, yes, you are allowed to do touch it with your feet and kick off. Then swim 25 meters back. And if you touch the wall, you pass. And if you don't, well, you better black out underwater or something, because if you come up, you fail. That was like the motivational speech that we got. So, there's no special techniques in that. It's just anyway. Okay. Cameron Talley. Oh, Cameron Talley asked a question about the pricing of Linchpin. Here we go. 19 upvotes. $10, he says with a question mark. A lot of us think that's crazy cheap for all you offer. I heard someone allude to addressing this in the past. Can you talk about your thoughts on this for those of us that are newer and missed it? And then some other people were like, be quiet, don't mention that. So yeah, when I started Linchpin, just $10 seemed very low, but it seemed like an amount of money that everybody could fit into their budget, regardless of whether you were lower, middle, or upper class in the world. And it's, I wanted to make it easy for people to say yes and give it a try so that it could improve their life. And I also, I probably should have started charging more, quite frankly. There's the truth. I just didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't run a business before. And, did we raise it to 12 or 14 once? I can't remember. And I got a couple emails, like heartfelt emails, specifically from some individuals down in South America, Brazil, if I remember correctly, where the currency and the exchange rate is wildly different. $10 here is not $10 there. That's an understatement. Saying how that much of a change would make a difference as to whether or not they could actually be a part of the community, which tugged on my heartstrings. And I was like, all right, man, we swapped it right back. Now, I don't know, in the future, I don't know when, a year, 2 years, 3 years, beats me when. It probably will go up, just because everything in the world only gets more expensive. And by that I mean, there's credit card processing fees associated with this that get taken out of the $10. There's data storage, there's website fees, there's Uncle Sam loves his taxes. Taxes only go up and go down, and every time all of those things go up, it just chops away at that $10. And that's just so things usually go up. And hopefully, we've been around for so long and had so many transparent conversations that if and when that day does come, and I don't know what it will go to, it beats me, that people realize, hey, if the price of Linchpin is going up, not only is it, I'm obviously biased, but worth at least double what we're charging right now, quite frankly, that whatever it goes up to, it's going up by that rate, by that whatever, just due to the necessity of how things go in the world, not due to some just totally unfounded, greedy desire on my part. So hopefully after all this time, I have at least earned that level of credibility. And I'm also interested, maybe some people have some ideas. Like, I don't know if we should do something. It's $10 a month right now. Like, maybe we do something where it's $10 a month, and you can maybe get the $10 a month, but you sign up for a year. And if you do, I don't know, 6 months, a 6-month sign up, it's $13 a month is what it shakes out to. And if you go month to month, it's, I don't know, 15 or $16. And then people could have options. Like, hey, you still want to go 50, you want to go month to month, you absolutely can. $10 a month sounds really good. Great. Then you knock out a year. I mean, we can maybe do something like that. And so, being very transparent right now, I don't know what the right course of action is. Beats me. But as of right now, it's $10 a month to month, and I don't have any immediate plans to change that. So, yeah, that's kind of probably the most honest way I can say that right now. Okay, that was Cameron's question. Justin, question about programming for the teens and masters at the games. Okay, where are you, Justin? Let's see. Justin. Here we go. Justin Hernandez. Can you talk about the programming for the teens and masters games athletes? How you got to do it, how you designed the workouts, and reflections on them. So, I got to do it I was offered the position from, Castro. He reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in programming for the teams and masters. And, yeah, I mean, what a cool opportunity. So, of course, I said yes. And it was a great honor. It was a fantastic honor to program. I think I did it for 3 years. And it was fun. It was just very fun to see the workouts that the events that you create and test and, pour your heart and soul into to see them played out on such a large stage and venue. It was very meaningful, is the best way that I could say it. And with regards to how it came up, how I designed the workouts, I mean, it's really no different than what we do at Linchpin every day, meaning, you have to take all factors into consideration that we've discussed several times on the podcast, from time domains to loading to rep range to movements to the technical complexity of the movements to intentional interference to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, the challenge that is specific to an event such as the games is you're only going to have so many events that you can do. And so you want to make those 7 events, 8 events, whatever it happens to be, each one becomes very, very important because you only have 8 to ideally create as broad of a test and as broad of a test of capacity as possible, and also given the confines of whichever arena you happen to be in, and how long do you have, before the next event, the next heat, the next whatever has to come in, and how wide are the lanes, and is there a pull-up structure, is it outside on turf, and, can you get them to the water, etc., etc. So all these things come into play, and there's this symphony and dance that has to occur from all the classic programming elements that just take place on a regular basis to now you're dealing with a specific geographical location that has some logistical constraints and all those things. And so all of those make programming for an event like the games just a little bit different and a bit more time, thought, and labor intensive than just traditional programming, just because of those logistic concerns. But the amazing thing about the teens and the masters, man, they're just so capable. They're so capable that to a large part, you can throw almost anything that you want at them and they're going to gobble it up. Whatever loading, I mean, almost any loading or any whatever that you throw at an individual athlete, the oldest teens and the youngest masters, for the best way to say it, at least the first couple divisions, I mean, they're almost right there. They're unstoppable, ferocious animals. And then, scale it down a little bit for the youngest teens. Then as we increase in the masters, we would modify in a way that made sense based upon historical precedents and the data and the lessons that we've learned, be it the movement or the repetitions or the loading, etc., to make sure that we were preserving the stimulus while still making intelligent decisions for whatever those athletes happen to be. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot, but it's worth it because it's very rewarding, it's very fun, and it's just cool to watch. And I'm honored that at some point in time I was associated with that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me see. Make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Travis says, sign me up for a lifetime. I appreciate that. All right, glad you liked the answer. I think there might be some merit to a premier private track. No change, just make it $20 for people that are able. That's incredibly kind. That's also almost makes me emotional in some way. I'm not trying to be corny, but like Misty, I mean, that we've created something that people either get so much value in or care about so much, or we truly have created a community here. And that's not just empty words, because that's what everybody wants to say these days. Community, but like we actually really have. That to have some people be like, no, I would actually like for you to charge me more. That's an unusual experience, right? I mean, that's not common. So for people to say that fills me with a lot of pride that we're actually doing things right. We're putting out the right information, and the people that have embraced it and become a part of Linchpin share the same values and principles and are good, humble, positive, supportive people, which is exactly what I wanted to have happen when this all started. So just thank you. It's cool. Fills me with pride. Okay, final question from Andy. Andy Thornton had 10 upvotes. Let's see, where are you, Andy? Man, there's a ton of questions here, which is very cool. Okay, Andy, here we go. What have you found to be the most effective way to balance challenging yourself versus not ruining yourself for the future workouts, particularly when working out alone? Great question, and it's linked to the question that Derek asked previously about what's the advice that I would give to myself 2 to 3 months into starting CrossFit. So for not wrecking myself, but challenging myself, I mean, I do, I try to walk the walk and talk the talk of all these messages that we put out. And I truly, even after 15 years of CrossFit, it's taken me a while to get there, but I have finally found a way to get my ego the heck out of my way. Once you get out of your own way, life gets so much better. That now, again, even after 15 years of CrossFit, if a workout pops up and I look at it and I say, I should scale that. There's nothing hurt in my pride. There's not a moment of, but it's not RX, so it's not cool and it's not valid, but that's gone. So what allows me to challenge myself every day and not ruin myself is exactly that. The removal of ego and the ability to look at a workout, just assess how I'm feeling that day, how did I sleep, how did I eat, how are my stress levels, and if I need to scale the workout, I 100% scale the workout. Or I sometimes may not scale the workout. I might keep the prescribed loading, rep ranges and all that, but I will just scale the intensity because, some days I just feel like I'm just going to make my way through this just medium intensity. I'm just going to move, get a good sweat on, go home, and that's great. And I allow I give myself that grace. I allow myself to feel authorized to do that. We program one workout a week in which we say not for time, and that's very intentional because if nothing else, at a minimum, I want somebody to have one break a week where they can just chill a little bit. Don't run the clock and just move. And in doing so, that little pressure release, both physically and mentally, ideally can help keep you on track. And so I always, when the workouts come up not for time, 9 times out of 10, I do not do them for time. I just move through them. And that keeps my relationship with working out healthy as well. Because if it starts to get to the point that you don't enjoy walking out into the garage because you've put too much pressure on yourself and you're trying to crush yourself every day with maximal intensity, it's not a long-term game right there. It's not sustainable. And so, for example, yesterday's workout, which was a bruiser, right? So that was, for time, 30 toes to bar, 15 back squats at 60%, 1,200 meter run, 24 toes to bar, 12 back squats at 60%, 800 meter run, and then what was it? 18 toes to bar, 9 back squats, and a 400 meter run. So it was a challenging workout to say the least. I warmed up, got my 60% of my back squat weight on there, felt okay. Warmed up the run, the toes to bar, and all that. Then 3, 2, 1, go happened. And a big difference between crushing yourself, like you mentioned in your question, and just challenging yourself in an appropriate way that doesn't leave you ruined. I think a decent example is how I did that workout yesterday. From the very get-go, that very first set of 30 toes to bar, I probably could have done like maximal effort, 15 to maybe 20 in that first set of toes to bar. And then every time I hopped in the bar, just try to push it as far as possible. I didn't do that at all. Hopped up, I did a set of 10, and I did 4 more sets of 5 to get to 30. The mere fact that I chose to break up those sets more is why today my midline's not destroyed. And I get in a fantastic workout, and I didn't destroy myself. That first set of 15 back squats, I could have done that set unbroken. It would have been unpleasant, and I would have been huffing and puffing and legs trembling, but I could have done them unbroken. And I very intentionally had absolutely no desire to do that. I did that first set of 15, set of 6, which is I could have done a lot more than 6, shook it out, set of 5, shook it out, set of 4. So just by doing that, I get in a great workout. Plenty of squatting strength was required and developed yesterday. My legs feel great today because I didn't redline like that. Then I went out on the run and I played that same game every time that I came in. And so there's a lot of different things that you can do every day to make sure that you get in a fantastic workout, but also just listen to how you feel that day and go at whatever's appropriate for you. And again, it took me many years to figure this out, which is why we try to have these conversations and ideally get everybody on a happier and more efficient path, sooner than I was. I feel good today, and that's great. And today's a rest day, and when tomorrow comes around for Friday, I will be ready to go for Friday. So that's that. Okay, I think we're. Somebody I've mentioned this before, but I'm just going to touch on it real quick. I can't remember who, but somebody mentioned building a home gym and what should they do. Right off the bat, I would want to make sure that you have the gear for the limited equipment option, which is a high quality pull-up bar bolted to your wall or your ceiling that you can kip on, a pair of dumbbells. In general, we say a pair of 50s for men, a pair of 35s for women, but those are robust, so don't be afraid to scale those down if need be. A set of gymnastics rings that you can hang from that pull-up bar, so they're low, they're not even hung from the ceiling, and then a jump rope. Those 4 pieces of gear, and if you bought really nice high quality ones, they probably cost you about $300 before taxes and shipping and all that, which, $300 is a decent chunk of money. But if you think that you can spend $300 on a barbell. So if you think that for $300, you can completely outfit your garage gym. That's actually an amazing deal. And with just that humble amount of gear, incredible fitness is possible. And any time that something comes up that would be a bike or a rower, well, you're going to be heel toeing it. You're going to be out there running, but you'll get plenty fit. So if you had that amount of gear, that baseline level of gear, and then from there you wanted to increase it, I still probably wouldn't get a rower or a bike next. The next thing I would get is a high quality barbell. You do get what you pay for. Some solid bumper plates, and a set of squat stands would be very beneficial. That'd be a great addition to the gym. Then after that, there's medicine balls and kettlebells and all kinds of fun stuff that you could have. But then the next thing I would probably get is a bike or a rower. It'd be fantastic to have both. They're very expensive pieces of gear. If I could only have one, I would take the rower, would be my first purchase, and then the next piece of quote-unquote cardio gear, conditioning gear that I get would be the bike. And, we can keep going down that list, but that's a rough guideline of how I would personally start. And you would be solid with that equipment. Solid. Okay. That's it. I love these AMAs. They're an absolute blast. We'll do one again next Thursday. Have a great day. Enjoy your rest day. And we will talk again later.